What's going on, guys? I'm Bergs, that's Longy, and this is NRL Last Minute Madness, Round 5. What is happening, guys? Bergs and Longy here from The Casual Athlete. Back at it again for another week of Last Minute Madness, where we go through our tips, our fantasy predictions, and some big predictions on the TBC Live app that you can download in the description below. But if you haven't already, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel, guys. We bring out so much content each and every week. Longy is basically breaking his back in the fantasy space, doing a lot of stuff right now. But I tell you what, he might as well take over the tipping at this point in time because he is ahead of me in the TBC Live comp. Longy stupidly took the Dragons last week, but it's paid off, and he got lucky. It's fine. You know, we all have the wins, and we're here to celebrate them, so you get one clap. Longy?
Do I get another one for the Bunnies against the Panthers?
All right, fine. He gets 2 claps.
And another one for the Titans against
all right.
the Roosters?
Yeah, I took the Titans as well, all right? And the Cowboys, okay? You did not take the Cowboys last week. Yeah, the only team I've tipped correctly all 4 weeks has been my own team. So at least I know how they play. But why don't we get into the first match of the week, Longy?
Mate, first game, Raiders versus Sharks. Are you going against the Raiders again, or what are you thinking?
Look, I didn't love what I saw from either of these teams last week. The Raiders looked like they did not want to be in North Queensland at all by the end of that game. I thought the Sharks were so disappointing against the Dogs, man. It was just trash what they took up. But I'm getting it back on the Sharks this week. They've won 3 in a row against the Raiders. And the last time they went down to Canberra, they put on 40 points to nothing. So, yeah, I think that'll continue this week.
I'm with you. Sharks bounce back. My prediction for this game feeds into that as well. Hudson Young over 60 fantasy points. I think he's been a bit disrespected in the fantasy circles because everyone's talking about Crichton. They're talking about, Fafita when he gets back in. They're talking about Jacob Preston. No one's talking about big bad Hudson Young. I think he shows out in this one.
Yeah, I have him in the draft personally, so I'd really enjoy that if he gets back on the train. I'm going to go to a guy who I've identified in our big matchup this week, Matt Tomoko. Had an awful week last week. I thought that him and Savage got towed up by Purdue. Him and Savage go against Horodi, who's in for Kale Iro this week, and Mulatalo. But I think that Tomoko has a bit of a bounce-back week. Can have those big games every now and again, but 7 tackle busts is what I'm going with for my big prediction for Matt Tomoko this week.
Him versus Iro would have been so fun.
Yeah.
2 big bruises, but you get robbed of that.
We unfortunately get Horodi, but, we'll see how that matches up. The next game that we've got is the Panthers taking on the Cowboys at CommBank this time. Unfortunately, not out at Penrith, so they're going to have to make the move down the highway. How many fair weather fans do you think will turn up?
Penrith fans. I don't think any of them have jerseys anymore. They've got all their jerseys they bought in the last 4 years.
Has been a little quiet over the last 3 weeks, hasn't it? No wins to speak of in those 3 weeks. And as we spoke about last week, I think it was nearly 2,000 or more than 2,000 days since they lost 3 games in a row.
As someone who tips against the Panthers, this has been a really good year. It's been a really good year.
It has been.
And I'm thinking about it again this week. Panthers versus Cowboys. Cowboys fresh off a win. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do it. I'm going Panthers this week. I really think they'll come back with a vengeance. As much as I ribbed them as a Parramatta fan, they're 1 win ahead of us. I think they'll get 2 wins next week.
So you're almost the best team in the West.
We're close. We're close.
It's like actually at the moment it's Tigers, then Penrith, then you guys.
The gap is getting closer.
It is. So I reckon Para, give them a couple of weeks, they'll be on top of Penrith at this point in time. No, not against the Cowboys. I don't like the fact that we have to come down to Sydney. We actually don't play that well at CommBank. We kind of hate CommBank Stadium.
Although even with the 5-point tip?
Look, we did beat them last year, but I don't know how much I'm reading into that. Cowboys were great, and as I said earlier in the video, they're the only team that I've tipped correctly all 4 weeks, and I expect that to continue this week. I'm actually going to lean into my big prediction here even more by tipping Penrith. 20 plus is what I'm saying. I think Penrith will get a win 20 plus here, and Cleary will have a field day against this very middle forward rotation for the Cowboys.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. I think the Cowboys they were better last week. I like Purdue's development, by the way. I think he's been better and better every week, so I'm really impressed by him. But Cleary 70-plus fantasy points is what I'm going with here. And I think Tommy Jenkins keeps the train rolling, and he's definitely a guy I'm starting in fantasy this week.
Yeah, he's definitely the matchup that I've identified as well. Him and Casey McLean this week going against Vilea and Robert Derby. Very inexperienced edges there, battling it out at CommBank Stadium. But we'll move on to the big The big dance on Friday night. We have the
This will be good.
Rabbitohs
This will be
taking on the Roosters. Now, this game is always one to watch. Got to highlight it on the calendar. If you are going to sit down and watch a game, it has to be this one. Do you expect a sin bin to happen in this game? Because it tends to happen quite a lot. And obviously, they did break the record a couple of years ago.
So my answer to that is Latrell saved himself for this one.
Yes,
He's been sitting at home stewing all the year,
Yep.
Waiting for this game, playing at center as well. So I think Rob Toyer will cook him for a couple of tries. He'll get frustrated.
Wow. Okay. You're backing your boy Robert Toyer, the rookie, against
Toyer, man.
rampaging Latrell Mitchell.
Latrell's going to make him miss a few tackles. I don't think Toyer scores a double. But I think Toyer is a guy that you start every week. I love the scoring profile from Toyer. He was great in a game where the Broncos tore them apart. And Latrell's a great player, but is Latrell going to fix that leaky edge? I don't think so. I think Rob Toyer rocks up here, and I think he maybe even outscores Latrell in fantasy.
Well, I'm going against you here, as you guys can maybe see from my big prediction. I've got Robert Toyer missing 5 tackles in this game.
Okay.
I just think the power of Latrell Mitchell down that side, we've seen it at origin level. I just think that he comes back with a vengeance. He looked fit in the offseason. He was training the house down, as we all like to say. But I just think him and Isaiah Tass are going to be able to get one up on Robert Toyer this week. He's a little bit inexperienced, and I think he could be on his way out of the team if he does have a bad game as well. Billy Smith is waiting there.
I get what you're saying. I think Latrell will get some, but I've gone Latrell under 50 fantasy points in this game, so we're both going negative. I think Toyer could miss 5 tackles. I do think that's possible, 100%, but I still think Toyer's going to get it done in attack. I just like what I've seen from him. I think Latrell will lose cash in fantasy. That's my big thing there.
Wow.
In terms of the tip, Rabbitohs 1.4, Roosters 3.8. Really lopsided. 73% are going for the Bunnies. This is a 50-50 game. I'm going to go for the upset. It's the Roosters.
Roosters have actually won 4 straight against the Bunnies as well. So they seem to have, especially in the last couple of years, figured something out against the Rabbitohs, although those 2 years have been marred by poor performances from the Rabbitohs and no Wayne Bennett there as well. So that could change. I'm actually on the Rabbitohs. I'm going to take the 1.4 points.
Coward.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I think the Rabbitohs have been finding ways to win games, and I think the Roosters, especially last week, found a way to lose it. They made 9 line breaks to, I think, about 3 against the Titans and managed to mess it up quite a lot.
Nat Butcher starting lock, mate.
Oh, yeah. I'm really excited about that.
Right.
Well, let's move on to our next game.
I'm excited about this next game.
The next game is the Eels taking on the Dragons. And, Longy, you might have a little bit of positivity in mind for this game. The Eels have actually won their last 2 games against the Dragons, although last fixture was a 44-40 game, which is almost unheard of these days. Do you think the Eels can maybe produce some attack this week? Because we seem to not be seeing it at all.
I would love to lose 44-40. I would love to lose 40. That is so much better than what I'm expecting for this game. Parramatta are just infuriating to watch, and it's just so sad. But
it's disgusting.
Yeah, look, 3.9 points for the Eels upset is not a lot. You got Eels team.
I'm very
25% of
Dragons are off the stool. Yeah,
look, Dragons. I tipped the Dragons last week, obviously like a genius, but I'll probably tip them again. I just reckon they're going to be too classy. They're solid through the middle. They lose Emre Gula, but they bring Blake Laurie in, who I think's a better player in my view.
Yeah, absolutely.
Flanagan doesn't think that, but
he's not starting him either. Yeah. I love Toby Couchman, but he's decided to start Clemmer. I'm not a big fan of that. They were strong last week, I thought, the Dragons.
That's
although,
tough.
The Storm maybe didn't throw as much at them as they probably could have.
Jerome Hughes, man.
But the thing is, they're going to come up against a team this week who's possibly going to throw nothing at them. So
that game last week was sloppy and wet as well. I think this will be a drier game. So Dragons will run up some more points in the win this week. I'm going Dragons. And for my big prediction, I've got Christian Tuipulotu to be the one who gets it done. 60+ fantasy points for Tuipulotu, bounce back.
Yeah, he's been on fire lately, especially around that edge with Holmes, who comes up against Lomax, which in our big matchup this week, the guy who replaced Lomax at the Dragons. So that'll be very interesting to watch for mine. I think Para's middle is a little bit weaker, so I'm going to go with Jacob Little to grab a try at some point. Loves a cheeky try out of dummy half, and Para just don't seem to be able to stop a leaking faucet at this point in time. Moving on to our next game, we have the Dolphins taking on the Titans. Now, the Titans last week, I thought they got away with a win. They ended up winning by 18 points, but if you looked at the match stats afterwards, it really would have suggested that they shouldn't have won the game. I'm just really concerned with their defense at the moment. They seem to be missing quite a lot of tackles.
I think you're talking to Brimson directly there.
Mm.
I love AJ Brimson, but he's got to figure out that defensive.
He's a fullback. They do
play.
struggle with defending in the front line a lot.
It's more of a fantasy perspective. Like, I think he's awesome, and I keep telling people like I think he'll bounce back, but the stats aren't great. Titans, Dolphins. Look, I've been tipping the Titans every week, again like a genius at Allianz last week, but I don't know if I can tip them here in this game. Like,
This game's got upset written all over it to me.
Yeah, and nearly 5 points for the Dolphins upset. Like that's what I'm looking at there, and I think you know what. Like Titans, I'm leaning towards the Titans, but no Keanu Keeney. Like the Dolphins are a better team than what they've been playing.
100%.
This is one where, in fact, I'm right now tipping the Dolphins.
Yeah, bang. I'm on board with you 100%. I think the Dolphins have been finding ways to lose games this year. They've been making it so hard for themselves, shooting themselves in the foot. If they don't do that again this week, and God hoping that they don't, because they're better than 0-4. They're a better team than that. They shouldn't be down there with the Eels. No offense.
No, they're better than us, 100%.
I think that they need to go to a guy to step up. And Herbie, for me, has a really good matchup this week. He's going to go against either Jojo Fafita or Sami. I don't know why they keep naming Jojo Fafita on the wing and then playing him at center.
Mind games, mate.
Yeah, it's not tricky. Mind games when you do it every week.
Teams are game planning for Jojo Fafita.
Center. It's just bizarre. Yeah. And then Max Plath returns to the middle. And I think he's going to have a great game and make 46 tackles.
Plath is unstoppable.
Yeah, 46 tackles is my big prediction for Max Plath as well.
Okay. No Gilbert there, so no 11 missed tackles.
Dude, he'll work hard. He'll play 80 minutes as well, I reckon, this week. It'll be a big bump up for me.
I'll pay that. Points. I'm going Jaden Campbell, 70-plus fantasy
You do
points.
this every week in a loss.
In a loss. I think he shows out. I just think Jaden Campbell, I'm loving what I'm seeing. Yep. And as a fantasy owner from day one, I'm going to run some laps on this one. I think he shows out. It'll be a frustrating one for the Titans when they lose, but Jaden Campbell's legit.
Interesting. Guys, let us know if you think giving 70 points to Campbell every week is a bold strategy. But, maybe pick another Titans player. You just love Jaden Campbell too much.
Jaden Campbell's the GOAT.
Next game is the Broncos taking on the Tigers. It's a really interesting one for me because I feel like until last week, I didn't believe in the Tigers that much, but they – even in a loss, showed me that they were willing to fight for it. I wasn't giving too much weight to them beating the Eels, beating the Dolphins, because those teams, no offense, kind of suck. But I just think without Luai this week, he's their spiritual leader, he's their captain. He hasn't been doing much on the field. Don't get me wrong.
14 run meters last week.
Yeah, it was. I highlighted that in my tipping video earlier this week.
He's doing some good stuff. But it's a weird role he's playing. Like, I don't think they're getting the most out of him.
Well, yeah, that was about what was it? 1 meter per $100,000 of his contract. I just want to see more out of him, and then he also gets suspended, ill discipline as well. It doesn't help the team.
Shoulder issue too. Yeah, go on.
I think that the Broncos get a pretty easy win here, just without. I think Galvin's going to have to do too much and push his passes a little bit too much, and I think Reece Walsh is going to be able to capitalize on the back of that. But I love the matchup this week: Shibasaki and Arthurs going against Toa and Taruva. Now the right side defense for the Tigers has given up one try to the left winger of each opposition team every week this year, so probably lock in Arthurs for a try. But my big prediction is that on the other side, Luke Lololi'i, who's coming in as a rookie, will have 131 meters gained this week.
Is that bold?
If you saw him run last year, you'll understand that he runs so hard. He's like a little Brian To'o.
131.
Yeah, 131.
Half of what To'o gets.
Look, I just think that in a loss, they'll be trying to batten down the hatches, and he'll be trying everything he can to win a spot.
What's the opposite of brave? Because that's what that is. I'm looking at this game, and the steam train is going to keep on sailing. Brisbane Broncos, they're getting it done. They won't be stopped in this game. And I'll tell you what, you mentioned him. Payne Haas will be right up the front. Choo-choo, MFers. Getting it done. Broncos are going to win this game by a ton, and I love the Tigers. I'm a closet Tigers fan. All my family go for the Tigers. They're missing Skelton. He starts their sets well. They're missing Luai, like you said as well. Like, it's not a great situation for them. It's up at Suncorp. It'll be drier conditions. Payne Haas over 100 fantasy points is my prediction here. He's my captain. Last week I said under.
I'm getting deja vu.
This week, I said under last week.
Okay.
This week I'm going over 100.
Wow.
I think he just absolutely tears them to shreds.
Against Terrell May as well. That's a big matchup.
It's a great
nearly
matchup,
the one I put
It's going to be
as the
Haas.
matchup
It's going to
there.
be Haas. I just can't see the Tigers holding up here. I think Brisbane haven't been quite firing so far.
No.
This is the week where it comes together at Suncorp. It's going to be terrifying as a Tigers fan.
Yeah, I thought week 1 they were good, and then since then Brisbane have been a little clunky, but getting away with a couple of wins. We moved to the Battle of Brookvale on Sunday.
Love this game.
And this game is always one to watch. Again, it's almost like a rivalry round.
This is the game of the round on TBC Live, by the way. So
Yeah,
if you win on points, you get $50.
Bang.
Like gift card.
Free $50. Yeah. Make some big predictions on this game, guys, because it's going to be a blockbuster. We got DCE and Olakawatu taking on Munster and Blore in our big matchup. And Munster last week, he's only 30 years old, but I just feel like he's lost it a little bit these last couple of years. Had a lot of disruptions with injury. He's not really looking like himself, like he can take over big games anymore. But I am backing him for a big prediction this week. I think he maybe got a little bit embarrassed how he couldn't drag his team over the line. Made a lot of errors. I'm going to get him to go back to his stripping ways. I don't mean in the club, but he'll go back to his stripping ways and get 2 strips this week.
Wow, 2 strips.
Yeah.
Cool.
1-1 steals.
I'm hoping he does bounce back because I've got him in fantasy and it's been a bit of a struggle. He's averaged like 41. No line breaks, not a lot of run meters. He's had a few try assists, but he's not that guy.
You were very disappointed last week. Colorful language came out.
I just
privately
think he's awesome. He's just awesome, but it hasn't been that great. I'm keeping him though this week, 100%. I think this is a game that brings the best out of him, and this will be a bit of a battle. And he won't want to lose to Manly this week because they just lost to the Dragons last week.
No turbo as well.
Yeah, Bellamy have them running laps, and if they, they'll have to attack at Brookvale if they want to win because Manly play attacking footy when they play against first grade teams.
Definitely
at Brookvale, so we can't out Parramatta, but everywhere else. In this game though, it's Storm. 1.3 for the Storm, 4.0 for Manly.
Jeez, that's so hard.
I'm going Manly, 4.0, easy choice. But I am then going the other way and saying Harry Grant over 60 fantasy points. I think he's not played well at all this year.
No.
And I think he's going to be seeing guys like Corey Pakes outperforming him this year. Riley Smith looks better than him.
I don't know if he pays attention to that.
He's not looking like a top 10 hooker in the comp right now, though.
No, neither's some other hookers that we could speak of. I think maybe Wade Egan is the standard right now.
Egan's the
he's
guy.
Phenomenal.
But Grant has it in the bag.
Robson's terrible.
He's going to bring it back out this week, is my thoughts.
Yeah, I want to see more out of Grant, personally, as a guy who has been in fantasy as well, who fell into the trap earlier this year. I'm going to go with the Storm. I think I love them off a loss. They're always so good off a loss. I don't care that Manly have been undefeated this year.
The points, 4 points versus 1.3, that doesn't lure you out at all?
I'll see if it tightens. I expect it to tighten up a little bit just because I think a lot of people will get on the upset. And Manly are at home. They haven't lost a game at home this year. And they always perform well at 4 Pines Park. Last game of the round, we do have the Dogs taking on the Knights. And the Dogs, who would have thought that they'd be the gold standard of the NRL through the first 4 weeks of the competition? Last week, I fully expected them to lose, but they went down to Shark Park and got in the niggle with the Sharks. And I think I said on this show last week that if they drag them into that, then the Sharks have a few guys that have a short fuse and could really put them off their game. And Reid Marnie and the like definitely did that.
They're massive favourites here too. Yeah. Everyone's getting respect. Crazy that it's such big favourites. I was in awe of that performance. It was absolutely fantastic. But let's not take away from the fact that they're rocking up this week without Matt Burton, without Viliami Kikau, and without Jacob Carraz. Those 3 are legit contenders for the best player in their team. So I'm going the Knights 100%. It's a 3-point tip. Can't ignore that. And then I'm going to back it up with Thomas Cant over 60 fantasy points because he can't be stopped from working.
Got a great name, to be able to be used for this kind of video. Yeah. I think in the big matchup this week, it's always going to be Stephen Crichton and Best going against each other. I have put the 2 halves there. We've got Sexton going against Sharp this week. Sexton stepping up in the kicking department, obviously with Bailey Hayward, I thought was pretty good. Very solid at 5'8" last week, but Knights off the bye is really interesting to see how they come back because they were poor before it. Whether they've gone back and worked on themselves, I don't know. And everything you outlined about the Dogs not turning up with those players, that happened last week. They didn't have those players last week. What changes for me?
You're right.
Nothing.
And Cronulla and Newcastle are both teams that can rock up and play the best footy in the world, or just not appear for some reason. So
I know. And
you going the upset then?
No,
It's not even an upset.
I am going the favorite. I'm going with the Dogs.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
One thing I'd like to highlight is the Best has actually never gotten a win against a Stephen Crichton team in his entire career. He's played 7 games against Stephen Crichton, never gotten a win.
I get you. I get you.
Bizarre stat, but go with me.
Best is in form, man. Like,
and Stephen Crichton's one of the best defensive centers in the competition. It's the 2 incumbent New South Wales centers going into.
I'm excited to watch it. I hope Best gets one up here because I like his style of footy. Like, I'm a big Brad and Best fan.
But just to throw a little fuel to the fire, I've gone 4 penalties for Reed Marnie to give away for my big prediction.
Simbin?
Yeah. Maybe.
Yes or no?
Yes. I'll add on to that. Let's go Sinbin for Reed Marnie. Just purely because he deserved one last week, and I think they'll go a little even up this week.
Yeah.
But the Dogs will still get out of there with the win.
Wow, Sinbin and 4 penalties for Reed Marnie. That's a big prediction. Well, that's more fun than my Thomas Cant to make 60 tackles.
Yeah, I know. It's super negative, but I just think there's been a lot of talk about Reed Marnie, and they'll clean it up.
All right, big 100%. Tips. Just to recap too, guys, if you are in TBC Live, new prizes have been announced on Instagram. So check out TBC Live on Instagram. You can win yourself Origin tickets, $1,000, as well as 2 Origin jerseys to wear to the game. So check that out. Make sure you're involved, TBC Live, and I'll let you finish up here, Berks.
Yeah, fantastic prizes on offer. Guys, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. Download the TBC Live app in the description below. We are on it all weekend, joining in on all the banter. I'm Berks. That's Longy, and we'll catch you next time.